Hello again. Today I want to talk about something a little bit different. I want to talk about where you should buy your supplies if you're doing a project. Your material, your supplies, your whatever you're using for products for your house. So the first thing I'd say is trust who you trust, right? So if you hire an HVAC guy and he wants to use a Trane unit, don't try and buy that around him, right? He knows the unit. If you're gonna hire him and install what he wants to install. I'm referencing in this more of something like, where do you buy your lumber? Where do you buy your windows? Where do you buy your nails? Where do you buy your water heater or something like that? Appliances. And what I would say is it just depends. And from my perspective, it depends mostly on the amount of service that you are going to need on the purchase. So let me give you an example. If I am buying lumber for my house or any house that I'm doing, or really any project that I'm doing, and it is a large order and I'm going to have some potential returns or have something to send back, I am going to usually buy that from some sort of a lumber yard, okay? If I am buying something that's a small quantity, let me give you another example. After you do the framing of your house, you're gonna have HVAC runs and you're gonna have your framers come back and you're gonna have to do box-ins. So you're gonna have to lower the ceiling around these areas and build additional structure for hanging the drywall so you can cover up your HVAC runs most of the time. And this is an example as to when and where I would not use a lumber yard, yet I would be buying lumber. So again, quantities matter, returns matter. If you're using a large quantity, I would use a lumber yard. Now you're gonna pay a little bit more from a lumber yard than you are from Menards or Lowe's or Home Depot. Not much, but you're gonna pay a little more. And it depends on your relationship with the yard, right? So if you're, obviously you know this, if you're building 20 houses a year, you're gonna get much better prices than I do building one house a year. So the prices do depend, but by and large, for the most part, Menards, Home Depot, Lowe's, they're gonna have your best prices. I would say 9 times out of 10. Now there are situations where a supply house is going to be a little bit cheaper, and I can give you an example. This house that I'm doing right now, I needed 4-inch drain tile, a non-perforated drain tile. They were out of it at Menards. They were out of it for, I don't know, maybe a week. So I was there, obviously. I looked at the price because I was going to buy it there, and then I ended up having to get it from a supply house, more of a plumbing HVAC place, and it was actually a couple dollars cheaper. So usually, are they going to be cheaper and more attractive to buy from the big box stores? Yes, but not always. You just have to study and know what you're buying. I buy most of my like aesthetic purchases there. So I buy my fixtures, my lights. I buy some lumber when it's not a large quantity. I buy door handles, anything that's a small quantity that I can kind of maneuver myself. I buy toilets, usually showers, although on this house they didn't have what I need, so I had to go to that supply house. For me, it just depends. I usually trust the professionals and let them get the supplies they need. In other words, I'm not buying my electrician's supplies other than the finished lights. I'm not buying any of my plumber and HVAC's components. I'm just buying the finished product. The handles, the finished product, what you see on the very outside of the house, the sinks, the cabinets. I'm buying that stuff. Countertops, sometimes I'll buy at a big box store. It depends on if they have your size. They are going to be cheaper, but sometimes they don't have your size, so you have to go to kind of a custom provider or special order it. I buy windows at Home Depot. They are cheaper than the lumber yard that I use, and the lumber yard doesn't carry the kind of windows that I use, which is the Andersen 100. So not all lumber yards carry all window providers. And I guess I would just say you're gonna have to shop this around. I usually take into account what my subs want. So if my subs want to use, for example, with drywall, if they want to use a drywall place that carries the drywall from one floor to another versus them carrying it, I'm usually pretty responsive to that, and I'll buy it from a different vendor. However, Lowe's or Home Depot is going to have a better price. So if you can end up getting it there on this house that I'm doing right now, I'm going to end up getting it at Lowe's because my drywaller bought a truck and he is willing to carry it in and spread it around to the rooms that it needs to go to, and it's going to end up saving me some money. So it just depends on what it is, but in my opinion, lumber should come from a lumber yard. Like if you're doing an entire house, you should end up getting your lumber from a lumber yard. Roof materials, I would say the same thing. Some things are just a lot easier, right? You and I probably don't have a truck big enough to deliver something that size. I don't mind doing stuff if it's small, but a lot of times I'll even pay to have my tubs delivered. So I usually buy those at Menards. Deliveries used to only be like $75. I think now it's $100, but the tub's huge. It's a pain in the butt to get off the truck, onto the truck. It would be a pain to move. It might take me a trailer, which takes more time. Take into account your time. Like, I know you might have some extra time, which might be why you're doing this, but time is still of value, and it doesn't make sense to just explicitly waste it, just to waste it. So, big box stores are great if you can use them and they have what you need, and it's not going to be a pain. But make it easy. Like I said, usually there's very little difference from a big box supplier to the average vendor. Lumber for me, I might only pay, 3% more, 4% more, something like that, maybe 2. But it could be 5. I don't know. It could be 10. I don't shop everything price-wise, but I know on some things it's definitely more. So anyways, hope this was helpful. Have a good one, and hit me up if you have any questions. I can definitely answer them down in the comments.